Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. And a major topic of discussion towards the end of last year has reared its head again here towards the start of 2022. With the players backstage at these LAN events not actually playing on LAN, that's creating significant differences when they go up on the main stage. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoy the video, hitting the like button, it's the best thing you can do. Tell this channel reach new people, and please do subscribe as well if you haven't yet already. This I thought was cool, firstly from Optic. Black Ops 1 to Cold War, which Nuketown was the best. Like, Black Ops 1 definitely has a special place in my heart just because of how, like, straightforward it was. Black Ops 2 was probably, I don't know, it looks the prettiest maybe, I don't know. There was just so many great moments on Black Ops 2's one. Black Ops 3 was just crazy with all the war running, to be honest. And then, I mean, yeah, I guess Black Ops Cold War wasn't all that bad either. But just to talk a little bit about Los Angeles Thieves, because, of course, they had a pretty good weekend at the kickoff. Much better than a lot of people expected. And as Octane says, addicted to the progress. So I think most people would say that these guys were somewhat behind the pace. They took a while, actually, to move out to Los Angeles to their facility. I believe they still own, like, 100 Thieves in general, the kind of compound or the house they had in Texas last year, where some of the content was coming from and they were playing their matches from. So I'm not sure if they're going to move there for their league matches. You would think that's probably a wise choice though, because generally, I think, you know, playing from LA for a lot of the scrims they play on is not ideal for them. I think they generally play off host, which is one of the reasons why I think some of these teams thought going into this event, LA Thieves weren't going to be all that much, because they hadn't really been looking particularly good online. And LA Guerrillas actually are based in Texas anyway, so they don't, I guess, have the same excuses here. But still, Los Angeles Thieves, they were looking great at the actual event, right, when they went to LAN, and you'd imagine they'd probably try and, well, use this place in Texas to actually play their online league matches, because they're very important, right? At the end of the day, thankfully, now it's not an 8-team, well, not an 8-team major anymore, so at least the bottom 4 teams still go, but still, if you are bottom 4, right, based on your 5 matches you played, your kind of placement games, your qualification games, then you're going to start in losers, which basically counts you out from winning the tourney. Very unlikely you're going to make a losers run, or we're going to see any crazy losers runs this year all the way to the grand finals or winning the entire thing. You've got to start in winners really if you want a good shot. Therefore, you've probably got to do pretty well in these matches. Go 3-2 or you know, something along those lines. Maybe 2-3 can make it work in certain tiebreaker situations, at least to get into winners, and then you can make the run from there. And you know, if you're not going to do that, if you're playing online from Los Angeles against a lot of tough competition, probably it's not worth doing it. So still, it seems like the Los Angeles guys improving very drastically, and I mean, Octane seems to continually think that they're improving it beyond even where they were at the previous events. But this I did think was interesting from Pentagram, because they brought him in as their substitute recently, one of the greatest well, prospects really from the North American Challenger side. My debut on the main stage will be something serious, he says. Now, look, as Owen says, yeah, is there too much to read into this? Because, of course, look, Los Angeles Thieves, we well know that they made a lot of changes last year. Drazah was on their bench for a bit, like, they made all sorts of moves, especially when the Huke thing happened, right, and Huke came in, and, like, Sasha was benched, and, then, like, they brought in, you know, TJ was out, then he was back in again. There were so many things going on with LA Thieves last year. Of course, like, Kenny was pretty much the only player who was, well, static on their roster the entire time. So still, maybe that kind of philosophy is still there or thereabouts. We know that Nadeshot this year certainly wants to win championships. He doesn't want to take anything, well, anything less than first place, really. Like, look, it's acceptable if you're a top 3 team consistently and you're making grand finals and you're being competitive. I think when I've talked to some of these guys, Kenny and Drazah, over the last couple of months, that's kind of what they've said is like, look, we just want to be competitive. We want to be there or thereabouts on a championship Sunday with a chance to win. And if that's possible, like, if we can actually get to that point of being in there with a shot on the championship Sunday, then, you know, we're going to win something at some time or another. So I guess that's a good goal for these guys. But if they're not at that point, right, if they're not consistently getting to championship Sunday, like, Nadeshot was, of course, very happy that they beat Optic this weekend, made a decent run. Of course, they couldn't win the entire tournament, but it will maybe greater things to come for that roster. Still, changes could be happening at some point or another. Like, the SMG line has been something of a question mark, right? We know that Octane and Kenny, they should be looking really good, but Drazah and Envoy have certainly raised some questions before the season. Like, could the slaying be there consistently over the long term? So maybe Pentagram's thinking, okay, maybe something can happen here. Now, still, like, at debut on the main stage, as he says, because, you know, who knows? Is there going to be some sort of Challengers event at some point that's actually done on LAN? There is, of course, going to be the Pro Classic going on in, like, April, May sometime, but still, I guess that wouldn't be Pentagram involved, because it would be teams on the actual Challenger rosters that probably, if you're a pro sub, you can't play on the Challenger teams up against the pro teams. You think there could be some degree of conflict of interest there, but maybe the CDL don't care about that. Who knows? But anyway, Pentagram's certainly hinting that, you know, changes could be coming at some point or another. And as JCap says, of course, they lost to Toronto. GG's to Toronto. Difficult loss, of course, for, well, pretty much they threw away that game 4, of course, on the Tuscan hardpoint. And yeah, I mean, who knows if changes are going to be made. I did want to share a quick clip actually here from Scump where he was discussing people thinking that Los Angeles Thieves and other teams should actually make changes. Not sure if these people who are kind of joking around about this are actually being serious, right? Because it was just a kickoff at the end of the day. But Scump's like, look, no changes need to be made as of yet. But if you do ban at maybe 2 majors, that's when you need to pull the plug.
I saw a Reddit thread calling for LA Thieves, LAG, Florida and London to drop players already after a kickoff. People are crazy. Yeah. Yes. That always happens. That happens every year, dude. People just want people to get dropped. They don't want to see teams progress and like actually improve as a team. They just want people to get the axe. Which it doesn't make sense. Like, if it happens for, you know, like a couple majors, a couple, you know, then it's one thing. But for the kickoff?
So this was the main topic of discussion that was being talked about during the LAN event, but also some frustrations that happened last year as well when we got back to LAN for Stage 4 and Stage 5. It used to be back in the day that, like, let's say Anaheim or something, the Anaheim Convention Center, there'd be the main stage, right? There'd be, of course, the main stage with the main LAN setup. Then there'd be probably 3 other stations, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, that were going on behind it. And then all the way behind the scenes, kind of where all the production work was going on, there'd be a load of practice stations. There'd be like a load of stations your four guys could set up. There'd probably be like maybe 6 of these stations or something, where there would just all be the PS4s there as it was back then, and you could just sit across from the other guys and play some warm-up games on exactly the same setup, theoretically, as you're going to play when you're out there on the main stage. Now, nowadays, it's different, because I'm not sure if the reasoning here was they didn't want all the players in the same room, due to kind of, well, protocol situations, which, to be honest, you can perfectly understand. But what they're doing now is kind of behind the scenes in their own rooms, like the teams have their own practice rooms. But these, of course, well, all the computers aren't connected in a LAN network to all the other computers. So effectively, when they play practice behind the scenes, they're still playing online, which they haven't really had before. The only time they get to play LAN now, apparently, is actually when they're up there on the main stage. That is a proper LAN environment, but things are slightly different on that to when they're playing behind the scenes on what effectively is a, well, Dallas servers, as Clayster points out right here. So always feels nice to be back on the local area network, but of course, by the time Octane tweeted this before they actually got on the main stage, like, they weren't playing on LAN, right? They were playing on the Dallas servers, and as Octane says, he'll take it, because I guess it's better. You're playing against a team literally in the next room on a Dallas server, probably on like 10 ping or something, which is, well, what Bance points out right here. Back on the 10 ping local, and well, on LAN, as Octane says in reply, right, to saying, look, it's not really on, well, it's not really LAN, to be honest here. We're playing online, even though we should be getting some good LAN practice in theory behind the scenes as it's happened in previous events. Nowadays, you only really get that practice, it seems, on the main stage. Now, look, will they change this going forwards? I'm not really sure. What could they actually do about this? It's tough to say. Whether they could connect PCs together or have like dedicated practice stations in different rooms that maybe teams can go to and make it work, tough to say. And maybe other venues will be different, right? Because obviously the Arlington, Texas venue is probably going to be different in terms of setup to what they might do in Toronto and in Minnesota if they can get that one to work in New York as well. So things could be very different. But yeah, a bit of frustration on this, especially because things actually seem to be substantially different. I think, well, Slasher talked about it especially. He ended up deleting this tweet, I guess, because he got a bit clowned for it too hard. But when he was talking about the glide bomb, there was like a 5-kill streak when they played online, but then when they went to LAN, it was actually a 7 streak as it was intended to be. Therefore, he thought he had one, but he actually didn't call one in, or like the other way around, or something went on with the glide bomb, because it was different to what he was playing backstage to what he was playing on LAN. And in fairness, right, you can understand Slash's opinion here, that, you know, very frustrating, miss the old days where I just played in what I practiced, and I can focus on the game. Whereas, you know, he has to kind of play on things that are different when he's actually on the main stage. He says right here, nah, bro, it's completely unacceptable to be upset. It's fair that you show up to a match to a different game. That's on me, bro. So going to be in sarcastic, of course. But, yeah, just kind of crazy, right, that they're backstage playing a different game, in theory, to what they're playing on the main stage. So probably one of the reasons why we saw some of these teams, like, fall shy this weekend, possibly, right, in some of these series. But, of course, everyone had to deal with similar things. Maybe that just adds another element of randomness. And, of course, another back into Scump statement, really, of, like, look, you're not going to make any changes after the kickoff, even if it was completely woeful. Like, you're going to make changes more based on practice, frankly, and how things are going there, and also when the season actually begins. To what was going on at the kickoff classic, of course. This also, speaking of the Los Angeles Thieves, their final game came out yesterday, or their final, like, well, round, I guess, of the boot camp, really. Well, they're playing a Search and Destroy. They played, like, a couple of first rounds that were pretty entertaining. They did kind of a CTF one, and then it was Search and Destroy. So, yeah, I thought this was pretty good, to be honest. These guys, it's funny seeing them IRL. Just great content, really well edited. There was a good video that came up for Los Angeles Guerrillas yesterday as well, with, like, Slasher and the entire team actually doing, like, you know, how well do you know your best friend type video. So, just good content coming out from the teams, really, as the season begins. I don't know what's going on the CDL YouTube channel. I guess they did some stuff around the kickoff classic, so I won't harp on them too much in this one. This then, speaking of the Call of Duty League, these are the games that that are coming up in, well, next weekend they begin. So on Friday, February the 14th, that's when things officially finally kick off, right? Because we had the kickoff, it was a good time, but of course in a bit of a lull period, frankly, before the season does crank up into full gear once again, and well, here we go. So these are the matches on February the 4th if you guys are interested. The first one is Ravens versus Mutineers, then Breach Guerrillas, and then Surge versus New York. So really a cracking game, honestly, to finish off the day. I won't go through absolutely everything because you guys can read it, but it just feels like nowadays that every single day at least there's an interesting match, because this is why I'm happy it's only 3 days now instead of 4. Now, yes, it's going to be a pretty late time on the Saturday for us guys in Europe here, but I'm still like every day it seems like there's going to be a good match, because like at last year there was like a Thursday. Let's say you've got a Thursday, it's London versus Paris, and then you know, Los Angeles Guerrillas versus Florida Mutineers. That's a tough time, you know, the viewership's going to be abysmal, but at least on this, at least every one day there's always an interesting matchup, right? And especially because how the teams are kind of stacked right now, like every day there's at least one game which is like, wow, there's some big personalities playing in that one, there's a big matchup, there's a big storyline there, which I think make things more exciting. And then they finish off with a good one, Minnesota versus Optic on the final day. FaZe versus Thieves, also very spicy on the Sunday, given well how we've seen those matches. Sparks have certainly flown in those games over the last year or so. And just to finish up with a couple of clips, this one especially from Shotzzy. This guy's just world starring people on the regular, but very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit in a like button, tell us the YouTube gods this is a good video, I just like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.